Hey everybody, last week we created these three-dimensional cityscapes. This week we're going to keep practicing drawing three-dimensionally by drawing these 3D shapes. You'll need a piece of paper, a pencil, and then coloring materials such as colored pencils and crayons. I would not use markers for this. The first step we're going to do is you are going to put a dot anywhere on the paper. Don't do it too close to the edges because you want to be able to draw the shapes around the dot. So now I'm going to draw 5 shapes. You don't have to draw 5 completely different shapes like I do here. If you are comfortable drawing circles and hearts, then you can draw 5 of those. Or you can draw 5 different shapes. It's totally up to you, but I want you to have at least 2 different types of shapes. Don't outline your shapes just yet. I just wanted you to see easier. Now we want to start with the corners that are closest to the dot, okay? So I'm going to go with this heart and draw it as slowly as I can straight to that dot. For the curved edges, we just start from the outer edge to the dot, okay? Again, take your time, draw slowly. If it's a curved edge, it's the very outer edge. Now this corner of the heart, its line would end up being behind this shape. So we're not going to draw it. I'm going to always imaginary draw to see where it would go. It's not being able to be seen. So again, we're not drawing that corner to that dot. So now I'm going to move on to the next shapes. Again, starting with the corners that are the closest. Drawing nice and slowly. Now this corner on the left might run into the heart's rays, and that is okay. Just draw it as straight to the dot as you can until there's nowhere for it to go. Again, I'm going to invisibly draw that line. It won't be seen, so there's no need to draw it. I'm going to keep doing this with each shape. Sometimes I like to invisibly draw it with my finger or my pencil to see where the line's going to go before I draw it. Now again, with the curved edges, you go to the outside edge to take it to the dot. The outside edge. Again, I drew with my finger to see where it was going to go before I drew the real line. Voila! Don't outline yours just yet. Now, we want our rays to be as three-dimensional as our shapes. That's what's going to make them look like they're coming off the page. So I'm going to mimic the horizontal line edge of the square. I'm going to continue to draw it until I reach the center dot. We want them to be parallel. We don't want this line to run in. It's going to match the shape's edge. Again, take your time. And then once we get to the other side of the ray, we want to match that vertical line going up and down. It might be a little diagonal going this way, and that's okay. But make sure that they line up with the horizontal lines that you just drew in the other section of the ray. And keep going until you get to the dot. Now, I want to do the same thing with the triangle. I'm going to match this diagonal line. I'm just going to repeat it over and over until I get to the center where the dot is. Now we're going to do the same thing with this square. I want to match this vertical line. Again, repeat it over and over. And I'll do the same with the top section of this ray. Please remember to pause, rewind, and rewatch steps as you need to. Don't forget to connect the lines. Make sure they match up. Now for the circle, we have to match this curved line. So we're not going to be doing straight lines. We're going to match the curved line, just like so. And I'll keep matching that curved line all the way, you guessed it, to the middle of the dot. Now for the heart, we need to create the archways again. We're gonna match the shape of the heart. So I'm gonna do one side first. And then just like the square, I want to match up the lines together. So I'm going to start in the middle of the heart and draw outwards so that they are matched up. Otherwise, it'll look wonky and won't look three-dimensional. Now, to give it more of the 3D illusion, we need to talk about value, which is the lightness to darkness of a color. I can get different values of the same orange. We want the faces, so this square, the face of the square, to be the darkest and the ray to be the lightest. The harder I push down while coloring with this colored pencil or even a crayon, the darker orange I'm going to get. You cannot use value with markers unless you already have a dark green and a light green marker. That's why today we are using colored pencils and crayons. So again, I'm going to color as hard as I can inside the faces of the shapes. Now for the rays, I don't want to color as dark. So I'm going to lightly color over the rays with the same color. Once again, the firmer, the harder you press down on your colored pencil or crayon, the darker the color you're going to get. But the rays we want light, so we're just lightly, barely touching the page as we color. At the end, if you want to take markers and outline your shapes to make them more defined, you can. Now, if you don't have markers to do that, I am going to show you at the end what to do with your colored pencils to define your lines. There we go. Now, if you don't have markers to outline your shapes and you want to have some definition on top of those lines, take your colored pencil or your crayon and press firmly while outlining those lines, okay? Once you have drawn the lines nice and dark, then you can again color the face dark and then color the rays nice and light. Voila, there we have it. I hope you guys have fun. Can't wait to see what you create.